As 2021 comes to a close, we here at Lush Life have been thinking through some of our favorite moments of the last year. While 2021 was definitely not the year we expected, I'd like to think we made the most of it by spending as much time as we could with all of you here on Portland Cocktail Week. We were all hoping we'd be back at Camp Run Amok with all of you this year, but as you know, that did not quite pan out. Fortunately, I was able to make it to Camp Run Amok with the Lush Life crew to host virtual camp. And while I was there, I got the chance to host one of my favorite classes of the year, Discover Canadian Whiskey. Okay, for those of you who know me, yes, I'm a hockey fan. I love a bunch of Canadian bands, and I look great in a head-to-toe denim-on-denim look. But that's not why I love this class. My pals Gina Fawcett and Dave Midden introduced me to the one and only Dr. Don Livermore, who's responsible for making all of the incredible Canadian whiskey that comes out of the Huron Walker distillery. This group of amazing people took us behind the scenes at one of the world's most prodigious whiskey facilities, while breaking down what makes Canadian whiskey so special. I feel like Canadian whiskey doesn't always get the respect it deserves, but that's all changing thanks to the work they're doing at Huron Walker. If you love this class or want to know more about Canadian whiskey, you are in luck. We have a whole program coming up this winter around the A's, B's, and C's of Canadian whiskey. Signups are happening right now at camprunamok.org/Canada. If you join this cohort, you're going to have access to some of the brightest minds in whiskey while getting to taste some of the amazing stuff Dr. Don has in his arsenal. Signups close on January 19th, so get those applications in as soon as possible. I hope you all have the happiest holidays and can't wait to see you all in 2022.
Exactly. Well, the last question is a very serious one. Which of your whiskeys tastes best with all dressed chips? The hard-hitting questions, guys.
That's going to be a cast drink to cut through that, because all dressed chips, that sticks around on your tongue for like 2 days. You're going to need a
I'm opposites. When it comes to food, I'm opposite. If it's an all dressed, that's very spicy. Probably not lot 40. I'd probably take the one to your right, Dave. Yeah, I think I'd take the Pike Creek if I was at all dressed chips.
Okay.
I mean, you could do the cast drink 22-year-old finished in port. Then you're going to have every flavor in the world in there.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. But
let's go for it.
I mean, it's it's an exciting category, and to talk about the cast strength and single barrel programs, that was the other strange ask we had. People, can you come out with cast strength whiskeys? And again, we got lot 40, which is simple for us to execute, but again, we're mostly blends. And we talked about the different methods of distillation. So typically somebody makes a cast strength whiskey, right? It's a single distillate, like bourbon, through a column still. They age it and don't add any water, where you go. Or if it's scotch, they'll go through a double pot still or triple pot still, away we go. What happens when you have different things that are distilled differently? So you got a pot still whiskey here, I got a column still whiskey here, a double distilled. You put those ingredients together in a blend and you don't add any water. What do you call that? It's really not what the intent of what cast strength was when you did it, because typically they come from the same type of distillation. So the Weiser's 22 year that Dave just talked about, and we released a 23 year in Sweden and in Canada, we're going to be, we call it a cast strength blend. So you're taking all these different distillates of different strengths and putting it together, not adding water. So I don't know if that's an official term, at least it's a marketing type of term that we've used on our 22 year is a cast strength blend. And we haven't really seen anybody else do that sort of thing when it comes to cast strength whiskeys.
Bonjour, I'm Brittany Leach Johnson, and I'm so honored to be a part of the team that helps bring vital education on topics ranging from bar technique and distilling methods to social issues that impact the bar community to your computer screens each week through Portland Cocktail Week distance learning. While our team has a serious focus on education, we also love a party. This year, we decided to channel our love of a good fete into bringing a Bastille Day celebration to the people. While we did highlight some of our favorite French brands during the stream, like Sachet La Perriere and Hennessy, this one was purely a labor of love from the team at Portland Cocktail Week. From cheese reviews with myself and Michael Moberly, to the most sophisticated castle and wine pairings with Amanda Hall, and a heartfelt rendition of the French national motto with Leo Borowski, you're sure to find something in this stream to help you rediscover your love of all things French. Let's take a look back on the Bastille Day fête and spectacle, mes amis.
Excitement with Bastille Day. There may be fireworks starting to go off over there. I'm not sure. We want to see where our traveling correspondent Amanda is. Amanda, where are you at right now?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I am at the Fortress of Chinon, so it only makes sense that I would be drinking Chinon.
Agreed.
Yes, thank you, Saget Le Perrier family, for this delicious wine.
Also, how does something earn the designation fortress? Because I like that.
Right. We're going to get to that. You know, this place is incredible. I don't know if you can truly tell how big it is. I felt like this wine really pairs with this castle because this is one of the biggest wines that the region of Loire makes. It's 100% Cabernet Franc, but there is a lot of acidity kicking around in this wine, and it is bright and big.
That's what I like in a red. That's what I like in bright and big, just like me. I like a nice bright red. That's kind of my style. I'm not a big fan of the big oaky, rich style. I like a lighter, brighter style.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, this castle also, I feel like it has a lot of angles, and I feel like it has a lot of rounds. And that's how I like my wines. I like the acidity, but you gotta have some rounds in there too, so that it's just all coming together, you know, in a symphony, a Bastille Day symphony of Chinon.
Hey there, I'm Dave, and I'm lucky enough to be the lead for digital production and analytics over here at Lush Life and Portland Cocktail Week. I help out with running our live streams and have had the privilege to be backstage for every one of the amazing classes we've brought to you this year through Portland Cocktail Week's distance learning program sponsored by Campari America. While we had so many fantastic classes in 2021, the nerd and plant lover in me was particularly drawn to one of the first classes we did this year titled Botany at the Bar. This class was led by a trio of scientists, Selena Ahmed, Rachel Meyer, and Ashley Duvall, who, when they're not researching botany at some of the best horticultural institutions in the country, are avid cocktail enthusiasts, authors, and produce and distribute their own lines of herbal blends that can be used to easily create bitters. During this almost 2-hour deep dive into the science and history of bitters, they delve into the historical and cultural use of medicinal plants, the science behind why plants produce bitter or aromatic compounds, how these compounds interact with the human body, and the ways to best process plants to create your own bitters. This class was one of the longest we've held this year, and it could easily be a 2 or more part series. The knowledge these ladies have of bitters and medicinal herbs is so comprehensive, it feels we barely scratched the surface in a lot of ways. Whether you've dabbled with using plant-based infusions behind the bar and are looking for a refresher, or taking your first steps into making your own cocktail bitters, please give this one a watch. And if after watching the class you were inspired to learn more about bitters and other ways to use herbs in your cocktail programs like I was, please go check out the presenter's website at shootsandrootsbitters.com and pick up their amazing book titled Botany at the Bar, The Art and Science of Making Bitters. The book is fantastic and contains dozens of recipes for bitters, cocktails, and infusions to help set your bar program apart. Thank you again for joining Portland Cocktail Week for all of our distance learning classes this year, and a huge thank you to Campari America for the support to make them all possible. Happy holidays, and we can't wait to see you next year.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different scientific evidence. So for each different type of botanical species, the ideal sort of growing conditions very much varies. And it also varies depending on which phytochemical or class of phytochemicals that you're targeting. And so it's extremely complex. And a lot of my research has looked at how tea really varies based on different agroclimatic practices or agroclimatic zones and management practices. And, we're looking at maybe over 200 different phytochemicals in tea that are imparting the different flavor attributes. And in some growing locations, certain phytochemicals are actually upregulated while others are downregulated or are present in lower concentrations. So it very much depends on what you are targeting, but there's just so much variation depending on all of these different variables. And so sourcing is so important, and understanding the ecology of the place is so important.
And Ashley, you get to grow cacao varieties that actually you have like common garden experiments, so you can grow the same stock in like Brazil and in Indonesia and see what the different flavor profiles are. Do you want to go into that at all?
You know, flavor is incredibly complex, and there's a lot of factors that go into flavor. So we discussed some of the precursors of flavor that are determined by terroir, environment, climate over a particular year. But I think equally important, depending on the crop, can be post-harvest practices. And oftentimes those can even override genetic differences between flavor profiles. And when you're dealing with a fermented product that also has to go through drying and roasting stages, a lot of the genetic versus environment versus sourcing and post-harvest contributions to flavor get a bit obscured in the shuffle. So it's a very complicated question, and it changes from crop to crop.
Yeah, and from product to product, right? So it depends like what even like the alcohol base that you're using is that could really, that you may be able to discern the difference or you may not be able to discern the difference.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Porter, and I want to start by saying we made it. 2021 certainly wasn't the easiest, but it was made much better each time we had the opportunity to come together, learn a little something, grow in our careers, taste some delicious spirits, share some laughs, and give back to our community right here on the Portland Cocktail Week channel. We appreciate all of you for sticking by us, tuning in every week, asking some great questions, and coming back to watch again. We've been lucky enough to host some pretty incredible programs, including the ever-popular Brown and Balanced, a couple whiskey certifications and distillery tours, distance learning classes, and of course, the Know Us Without You series. For those that don't know, Know Us Without You LA is a 501c3 public charity aimed at providing food relief to the most disenfranchised hospitality workers affected by the pandemic. Earlier this year, we put our heads together and started the video series with them and Campari that provides Portland Cocktail Week distance learning classes for the Spanish-speaking community by the Spanish-speaking community. From this came one of my favorite classes titled Kitchen Techniques to Reduce Waste, hosted by a few of my favorite people, Pax Mole, Yashira Velez, and a little cameo from Carlos Irizarry. All these wonderful people came to us from San Juan, Puerto Rico during a blackout. So although the power wasn't the most cooperative, their knowledge and energy made for one of the most entertaining and educational hours. They shared sustainable recipes and techniques that you can use in your bars or at home. I highly suggest giving this one a watch. Again, thanks for hanging out with us this year, and we can't wait to see you in 2022, hopefully in person this time. Cheers.
See just here, we already have the juice right here. So we're gonna show you that you can strain the juice.
Okay, so you put those cubes in the blender and you blended them.
Yes.
Earlier, yeah.
And we put half a lime, half a lemon, and half cup of sugar.
And we also add a little bit of salt. We usually use, like all great cooks use kosher salt. So we add a little bit of kosher salt just so we can get those flavors up. So we can bring that acidity from the citrus and like the sweetness of the watermelon, just like to get up a little notch.
So half a lemon, half a lime, and like a pinch of kosher salt.
Yes, and that would be for, I would say, is it 2 cups or 4 cups of juice? 4 cups of juice, yes.
Great.
And this is for the granita?
This is something that it's a 24-hour process. So immediately after you do this, exactly. So basically, right after we have this, this stuff, this is very easy but very nice, flavorful stuff. So what we do, you leave it in the freezer for a couple of hours.
Okay.
It's still not going to be completely frozen. So you're going to take a fork and you're going to start raking.
Okay, so now we have like movie magic. She's frozen some.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is from, like, this should be the final product. This is from yesterday.
Okay.
It looks very beautiful. It smells even greater. And the taste is just amazing. Just amazing.
Yum.
Yeah, so this is like very simple stuff that is super fun to make, that it's actually a nice project to make. And it's like you don't waste any of the fruit. You're using the whole thing. And people love it.
Oh, hello there. It's your friendly neighborhood Michael Moberly here. Well, I'm one of the newer members of the Portland Cocktail Week team. These lovely folks have been dealing with me for many years as a member of the Portland Cocktail Week varsity team. One of my favorite things about Portland Cocktail Week is the curation of presenters that make me think differently about so many different topics, from technique and technology to social issues and perspectives I may have never considered before. One of my favorite presenters we've had all year was Chalky Tom. Chalky has curated some amazing topics and shared her perspective and expertise in a million different things. My favorite class of hers was definitely Thoughtful Tropical. This class showcases the ways to be more considerate and thoughtful when interacting with other people's culture. I'm so grateful for all the care and love that went into this class, and I hope you give it a watch. I can't wait to see y'all in person again, so between now and then, please take a look at all of this amazing content we have on our YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook channel. And between now and then, cheers, and I hope to see you soon.
And my final thoughts. Because this isn't a black or white issue, we can also hold on to many things, and we can appreciate what has drawn us to Tiki, but we can also understand that there are things that aren't good about it and move forward, at least in a bar and a cocktail sense. And then I just want people to ask, at the end of the day, is it more important to hold on what you like and know, or to create a more welcoming and thoughtful environment for everyone? Because isn't that what hospitality is about? Ideally, I hope that after studying this, you'll take the time to be more thoughtful and to use critical thinking when it comes to these things. Take time to educate yourself and listen, and to actually just be open to re-examining like the symbols that you use without thinking and the cultures you engage with without understanding them, and acknowledge that there is historical and social context there, and not everything can simply be like, can't we all get along? What might not be significant to you might be significant to someone else, and it's good to, find a place where we can both exist and be and educate and, have a good time with each other in a way that's thoughtful, I guess. And then we exist in an ever-changing time, so you can be part of the solution, which to me is embracing change and finding ways to share these things that's welcoming to everybody, or you can kind of get left behind, because at some point, the world changes. And as we see, like with different companies deciding that books that they might have been okay with are going to go out of circulation, or changing, brand mascots, or, changing sports mascots, the people that really want to hold on to that stuff are becoming less of the mainstream. And I think that's a beautiful thing.